Women have always been symbols of patience, love, and spiritual strength. From a Buddhist perspective, women are not only mothers and wives in the family, but also individuals with the ability to practice and attain enlightenment, similar to men. Buddhism, with its philosophy of equality and compassion, has long affirmed that gender is not a barrier on the path to liberation. In this article, we will learn about the role of women from a Buddhist perspective, a profound and fair view, helping to enhance the value and virtue of women in all aspects of life. 1. Buddhist views on women. Buddhism has a very practical and comprehensive view of the role and position of women in society. The Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, taught that everyone, regardless of gender, has the potential to practice and attain enlightenment. This is a strong affirmation of the equality of practice and the fundamental equality of all beings. Buddhism does not stop at recognizing the equality between men and women in theory, but also clearly demonstrates it in the way it is organized and practiced. Since the Buddha allowed women to become monks and join the Sangha, women have been able to participate in the monastic life, practice, and achieve the same noble spiritual achievements as men. This shows a great progress in Buddhist thinking compared to ancient Indian society, where women were often considered inferior and restricted in many aspects of life. However, equality in Buddhism is not easy to achieve if we only look at it from a subjective perspective, influenced by social prejudices and a narrow view of the role of women. Life inherently has many opposites, such as good and evil, male and female, black and white, and sometimes these opposites create barriers to achieving equality. Therefore, to achieve true equality, there needs to be a change in people's perception and consciousness. Buddhism teaches that the difference between men and women, or any other distinction, is a product of ignorance and ego. As long as people cling to a subjective view, considering themselves the center, they will continue to create discrimination and injustice. The Buddha pointed out that equality is not about denying differences, but about overcoming the limitations caused by ego clinging, to see everyone with compassion and wisdom. The Buddhist view of women, therefore, is not only a recognition of their rights and status, but also an encouragement for them to develop their full potential in all areas of life. Buddhism values the virtues, wisdom, and compassion of women, and affirms that they have the ability to contribute significantly to the development of society and the spiritual sublimation of humanity. In a world where gender equality is still a major challenge, Buddhism's practical and humane view of women brings many important values, not only helping to raise the status of women, but also contributing to building a more just and harmonious society. 2. Discrimination and equal rights. Gender discrimination, similar to skin color discrimination, is a complex and long-standing problem in human society. Both forms of discrimination are based on unfounded prejudices and ignorance, leading to deep and lasting injustices. They are not just personal issues, but also battles over power and power in society. When we talk about gender discrimination, we are not simply referring to the physical differences between men and women, but also to the way these differences are used to justify limiting women's rights and opportunities in many areas of life. This discrimination often results in women being disrespected, excluded from positions of power, and facing significant barriers to achieving true equality. The feminist movement, which began decades ago, has been changing the way women are viewed and treated in society. Great strides have been made, such as the adoption of political rights declarations for women, giving them the right to vote, to participate in legislative bodies, and to hold leadership positions. Reproductive freedom is also one of the important achievements, allowing women to make decisions about their own bodies, including the right to access health services related to pregnancy, abortion, and safe childbirth. These advances have not only changed women's lives but also impacted society as a whole, contributing to a fairer and more respectful environment for all. However, the fight for gender equality is still long, as discrimination and injustice are still present in many aspects of life, from the family, the workplace, to politics and religion. Clearly recognizing and confronting these challenges is the first step towards moving towards a truly equal society, where everyone, regardless of gender or skin color, has equal opportunities to thrive and live a free and happy life. 3. Status of women in religions. The status of women in traditional religions such as Judaism and Islam is often limited, both in terms of roles and rights. In these religions, social prejudices have long been ingrained in the teachings, leading to a clear distinction between men and women. In Judaism, women are often limited to the roles of wives and mothers and are not allowed to participate in important religious ceremonies like men. They are required to adhere to many strict rules of purity and are often excluded from sacred functions in the religious community. Similarly, in Islam, women are also required to adhere to strict rules of dress and behavior and are often limited to family roles. They had little opportunity to participate in religious or political leadership positions, and their rights were often constrained by strict cultural and social regulations. However, Buddhism brought a different and more progressive view of the status of women. Even during the Buddha's lifetime, he affirmed that women had the same potential to attain enlightenment and liberation as men. The Buddha challenged the oppressive notions and social prejudices of the time by allowing women to become monks and become part of the Sangha. This not only gave women the opportunity to practice and achieve noble spiritual achievements, but also raised their status in society, allowing them to participate in religious and social activities from which they had previously been excluded. In Buddhism, women are seen not only as mothers and wives, but also as individuals with virtue, wisdom, and the ability to make important contributions to the development of religion and society. Buddhist nuns have demonstrated that, with proper practice, they can attain the highest spiritual levels, similar to male monks. This represents an equality that transcends time and space, an equality based on spiritual and moral abilities, rather than on superficial factors, such as gender. The marked difference in the way Buddhism treats women compared to other religions has contributed to a more equitable religious and social environment, where everyone, whether male or female, has the opportunity to develop and attain enlightenment. Buddhism not only liberated women from oppressive ideologies, but also affirmed that gender differences are not obstacles on the path to enlightenment, which created a strong foundation for gender equality in religion and society. 4. Buddhist teachings on gender equality. The Buddhist teachings on gender equality represent a progressive and humane thought, affirming that women can attain the highest spiritual achievements, including enlightenment and liberation, just like men. The Buddha taught that everyone, regardless of gender, has the ability to practice and attain nirvana if they pursue the path of the Dharma with a steadfast mind and compassion. One of the clearest evidences of gender equality in Buddhism is the Buddha's permission for women to join the Sangha, something unprecedented in the history of contemporary religion. The Buddha established the Bhikkhuni Sangha, allowing women to leave home and live a celibate life, practicing together with male monks. This not only opened the path to practice for women, but also affirmed that they could attain the highest spiritual levels, such as arahantship, similar to male monks. There are many stories in the Buddhist scriptures about female disciples who achieved great spiritual achievements. For example, Bhikkhuni Mahapajapati Gotami, the Buddha's maternal aunt, who became one of the first bhikkhunis. She attained arahantship, proving that women could attain enlightenment like men. Likewise, Bhikkhuni Skema and Upalavana were both praised by the Buddha for their wisdom and psychic powers, on par with his leading male disciples. Buddhist teachings not only exalt the spiritual abilities of women, but also protect and respect their rights within the monastic community. The Buddha laid down specific rules and guidelines to ensure that women in the Sangha were respected and given equal opportunities for spiritual development with men. These rules not only helped maintain harmony within the Sangha, but also affirmed the equal status of women in Buddhism. Moreover, Buddhism did not limit gender equality to the Sangha, but extended it to society. The Buddha taught equality in virtue, wisdom, and compassion, affirming that all people, regardless of gender, have the potential to develop and attain the highest human values. This equality was not just a theory, but was clearly demonstrated in the practice of Buddhism and in the way the Buddha treated his female disciples. In the context of ancient Indian society, where women were often considered inferior and restricted in many aspects of life, gender equality in Buddhism was a great step forward, opening up a new path for women. This has contributed to changing the social perception of the role of women, not only in religion but also in other areas of life. The Buddhist teachings on gender equality, with their emphasis on women's ability to practice and attain enlightenment, are not only a message of fairness and respect, but also a strong encouragement for women to develop their full potential in their spiritual journey. This not only helps to elevate the status of women in society, but also contributes to building a harmonious, equal, and compassionate religious and social community. 5. Equality in Buddhism. Equality is one of the core principles of Buddhism, clearly demonstrated by the Buddha's teaching that everyone, regardless of caste, gender, or birth, has the potential to practice and attain enlightenment. The Buddha asserted that all beings are equal before the Dharma and that there is no distinction in the ability to attain enlightenment. He broke down the rigid caste barriers of ancient Indian society, where the caste system dominated human life, and introduced a path of practice based on equality and compassion. Buddhism not only asserts equality between castes, but also emphasizes that gender is not a decisive factor in the attainment of enlightenment. The Buddha allowed women to join the Sangha and practice alongside men, which was a major step forward in the social context of that time, when women were often considered inferior and excluded from many religious activities. He taught that the ability to attain enlightenment did not depend on gender, but on the effort to practice and maintain morality. However, some people who do not understand the teachings of Buddhism correctly have considered this religion to be gloomy, negative, and unsuitable for building a modern society. They believe that Buddhism focuses too much on suffering and personal liberation, ignoring the positive aspects of life. This leads to the misunderstanding that Buddhism may not support social movements such as gender equality. In fact, Buddhism is not only a path to personal liberation, but also an important contribution to social development. The Buddhist teachings of compassion, wisdom, and non-discrimination are fundamental principles that can be applied to build a just and peaceful society. Buddhism emphasizes the freedom and ability of each individual to develop spiritually and attain enlightenment, while promoting respect and equality among all people. Misunderstandings about Buddhism mainly stem from an incomplete understanding of the core tenets of the religion. While Buddhism does acknowledge the existence of suffering as part of existence, it also provides a path to overcome suffering and achieve true happiness. The concept of equality in Buddhism is not just a theory, but is clearly implemented in the monastic community, where everyone, regardless of gender, class, or social status, is treated equally and has the same opportunities for spiritual development. In short, Buddhism not only affirms equality between classes and genders, but also provides a strong foundation for building a modern society based on the values of justice, compassion, and wisdom. Buddhism, with its profound philosophy of equality and human rights, is not only relevant but can also contribute positively to the development of contemporary society. Hopefully, through the above sharing, you have gained a deeper insight into the value of equality in Buddhism, especially the affirmation of gender equality in the Buddha's teachings. Buddhism is not only a path to personal liberation, but also plays an important role in building a just and humane society. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect with me on this topic. I look forward to continuing to accompany you in the next sharing, where we will explore more precious values from Buddhism and other humanistic philosophies. Wishing you peace and happiness. Goodbye, and see you again.